Obviously, good to see the president there touring that Ford plant, looking at a battery-powered Ford F-150. Talk to us about his ambitious plan. What has the president already done, and what does he plan to do to stop or even reverse the effects of climate change?
Well, the good news about today is he spent a little bit of time in Dearborn, Michigan. He went to the Ford EV Center to really look at showing people what the newest F-150 looks like. It's electric. And it was a great opportunity for him to talk about the plans that he has in the United States for winning the future. He wants to make sure that we recognize that electric vehicles are the future and that his American Jobs Plan has all of the elements in it that will allow that future to be won by the United States of America. When he was at that Dearborn plant, he was standing with United Auto Workers, union workers who are making that plant, who are making that vehicle. And that vehicle was made with parts that were built in 20 different states in the United States of America. We're talking about batteries now being manufactured in America. You know, the president is concerned that China is far ahead of us in the electric vehicle market, and instead of producing the technologies of the future, we're importing them from somewhere else. It is time for that to shift around. So the president has an American Jobs Plan where he's looking to invest more than $170 billion, and he's going to build out the electric charging stations that we need for consumers to buy these vehicles and feel confident that they can get where they want to go and back again. He's looking at actually providing consumer rebates at the point of sale. He's looking for low-interest loans, grants, and other opportunities to work with battery manufacturing so that we steal that supply chain back to the United States again instead of ceding it to other countries. And he's looking at opportunities to continue to advance, not just in the electric vehicle sector, but in other sectors, to show that the United States, following this pandemic, we are going to not ask for sacrifice for our people. We're going to design a plan that gets our people right in the mix of the best union jobs that they can have, and we're going to grow those jobs, and we're going to grab the manufacturing sector back again right here in the United States.
The president's plan calls for $700 billion in infrastructure improvements, including the electric car charging structure, which you mentioned.
Yep.
But there is no legislation at this point moving through Congress to get the necessary funding and regulations for this plan. What is the administration doing about that?
Well, there are actually a number of pieces of legislation that looks to support parts of the American Jobs Plan. But the president really wanted to put together this $2 trillion plan to show that we are actually going to be back on track to capture the future again. He wants an investment that's right-sized for this moment, a once-in-a-generation investment, and that's what this represents. It's not only just looking at electric charging stations, it's looking at making the transmission grid system work so renewable energy is available all across the United States. It's investment in our water and our wastewater infrastructure. It's going to repair roads and bridges. It's going to look at the kind of investments in America that you expect a president to make who cares about people and knows that it's not about sacrifice, it's about hope and opportunity that this moment brings. And he's going to capture it. So you're absolutely right. There's numbers of pieces of legislation over there that have not passed, but he's sitting. Even today, we have folks sitting together, Democrats and Republicans, looking at what we can put together in a bipartisan way to move this plan forward. But this president has made it very clear that this plan needs to be bold, it needs to be big, and it needs to meet this moment in time.
But if Republicans were a bit sort of not that excited about the jobs plan, the reaction was a bit muted. At what point then does the president move forward with Democrats in the majority with his plan?
Well, the point is not now. The point right now is to work with Republicans as best we can, and then the president will make a decision on what to do next. But I think we all know that President Biden has been in office for a long time, working across the aisle. He's hoping to do that once again, but he's not going to wait forever. He knows that this is a moment in time when we have to invest. And he's looking at everything from investments in broadband. I mean, the traditional views of investment just don't work anymore. Our country needs to grab back the future for ourselves, to build some strong union, good-paying jobs. We've lost more than 22 million jobs over the course of this pandemic. The president's not going to ask for sacrifice. He's going to invest in the American people. That's what this is all about, and that's why he's so anxious to get it moving forward.
Now, less gasoline means less gas tax, and I wonder, would you consider a per-mile tax on electric cars to cover all of this new mileage that will be covered by a mass electric fleet?
Well, thankfully, that's not within my bailiwick. We'll all decide how to make sure that we get the resources we need for states to actually maintain their roads and bridges. Right now, the federal government, through this president's leadership, is looking at re-energizing our ability to actually fix those old roads and bridges. And I'm sure there'll be discussion at the state level about how to support that moving forward. But right now, the goal is to look at the terrific technologies we have available in the transportation sector, to invest in transit again, to get rid of those dirty buses, especially school buses, to take a look at how we get those old diesel trucks off the road, and yes, to build an electric vehicle infrastructure so that we can capture that market.
Okay. Now, speaking of electric cars, Elon Musk, who of course is the CEO of Tesla, has been very vocal about the energy consumption of Bitcoin mining, though he has, and Tesla has, invested in Bitcoin itself. Are you concerned about the energy consumed by crypto mining, given how much the market has exploded? And are you thinking about this from a policy perspective?
Of course, we're thinking about every sort of energy consumption that we have in the United States, because we need to, right now, this decade, invest in how to turn that around. We do have a climate crisis that we owe it to our children to tackle. And so you're right to look at every opportunity that we can to actually reduce those greenhouse gas emissions. Now, I won't speak specifically to that issue at hand, but I will say that we're looking at how to look at every sector of our economy and meet our commitment that we made to the international community when we rejoined Paris, which is how we can cut our greenhouse gas emissions in half by 2030. And that's a task that we're taking seriously. We've looked at every sector, including the mining sector, the oil and gas sector. We looked at our transportation sector. We looked at housing and how we can move forward. And the good news is that we have tremendous opportunities for deployment of already existing technology that can help us get that reduction that we so desperately need, to show the world that we are back in action in the United States. We're going to provide international leadership. But there is no doubt that the challenge of climate change is big, and fixing it is going to take investments, and that's why the president is out in front and hoping to move forward that with this level of investment that will get us some reductions this decade, which we need, and then we'll move forward with research and development on innovative technologies that can get us over the finish line by 2050.